When someone is depressed, people usually think you're lazy. That's the mentality people think. Huyo ni mvivu. But the truth is, you cannot be productive in anything. Your brain is what keeps you alive, and it's true. Your brain is what keeps you alive. And if your brain is not working, then no part of your body. I wasn't sleeping more than 2 hours. I can barely come out of my bed. I'm someone who has OCD, very clean. My friends even don't like coming to visit me because you have to wash your hands, you have to do this, you have to do that. I stopped. I wouldn't care if I took a shower or not take a shower. I remember it was so bad as a day I even peed on myself. Because I literally don't even have the strength to go to the washroom. So I had to formulate a plan in my head that would kill me. Committing or attempting suicide is the hardest thing for a human being to do. Because you are choosing to inflict pain on your body. You are choosing to take everything you had from yourself. Hi, my name is Joy Dama, a human being who is diagnosed with severe depression and severe anxiety. For the last 11 years, I have been dealing with depression. It has not been easy. This is because of the traumas that have occurred in my life. I have had to go through rape. I have had 2 miscarriages. I have been diagnosed with cervical cancer. And when I thought life was done with me and I had everything and anything thrown at me, then I lost my mom, who was my support system and pretty much my everything. So I am here to share the realities of what depression looks like. If you see me now, if you came into this room right now and you saw me, you wouldn't think I'm dealing with depression. I look like a jolly person. I'm well kept together, I'm well groomed. My hair is made. I'm clean. And it's the same thing, when you're walking. If the journey for me to come here, I've met with people, the people who have met me, and they've seen me and I look like a normal person, just going about their day and nothing much. But I'm battling these thoughts and I'm having this whole war in my head, And when people see me, they see that this person is okay, this person could be good. So I wanted people to see what depression looks like when it's happening. Depression looks like me, So everything for me as a child was okay. My mom did her best. My mom was a single parent and she did her best to provide for us. Anything that you wanted, I remember I just used to cry and get it. As long as I've shed a tear like this, it's there. So up until Form 4, that's when now everything now changed for me. So in Form 4, my health became very bad. It deteriorated. So now the ulcers are bleeding. I'm in and out the hospital. I'm getting admitted. It was just chaos. And I didn't know that I was dealing with a lot of things mentally. We started having financial issues when I was around end of Form 3 now, my Form 4. Someone who has never had to struggle for fare. I was in a day school at that time. I've never struggled for fare. Now we're struggling to get my fare. Meals, we're struggling, It was bad. And this was not a reality that I was exposed to. So now we are being exposed to this reality where now we're the ones who are lacking. And with my mom supporting my music came a lot of backlash from the family, from her friends, because for some apparent reason, everyone was telling her, music is not the best thing to do for your child, there are other things you can do for your child. But the only person who knows the dreams and the realities of their children is a mother, pretty much. So even in helping us, there was no one to help us. So when we were in that, when now our finances, now everything started, my reality started changing. I remember I blamed myself so much for it. One day my mom was crying. She was in her bedroom, she was crying, and she didn't know I could hear her because she thought I was sleeping. And I remember when I heard her crying, I went back to my room, and on that day I was just like, imagine, it's because of me we have all these problems. So if I was not here, it would make a lot of sense for my mom, you know. Maybe, you know, she wouldn't have this responsibility of having to take care of me. Because I was a sickly child, we had a lot of medication lying around in the house, everywhere. You could just, you know, locate medicine very easily. So I remember just taking all the medications I could get, gathering them together, and I went and I put a whole jug of water. And then that time kulikuwanga na kale a sachet for juice. So you'd pour it in, then you koroga so that the water becomes like juice. So I had a sachet, I put it, I korogad. I went into my bedroom, I locked myself and popped the pills, took them, because I was just like, this is the best way I can end the misery, you know, for my mother, for myself, because I was really, imagine in Form 4 and you're feeling like a failure, you know. So I wrote my suicide note. I remember it was like 4 pages. I'll never forget. I was crying. It was like 4 pages. I wrote it. Then I popped pills. I remember just lying on my bed, like on my side. And that is all I can remember, because the next time, I remember waking up and thinking I was in heaven. I was so sure I was in heaven. I was so sure I was in heaven, because the room I was in had, the light was like, wait. I stayed in the hospital for 7 days, a whole 7 days. And unlike right now where, you know, when you attempt suicide, a psychiatrist is brought to hospital, you know. That time it was a pastor and a guidance and counselor. And I remember those 7 days were the longest 7 days of my life. Because it was like, you know, the Bible says, you know, why do you want to take your life? Do you know the Bible says there's no way you could have gone to heaven, blah, blah, blah. It was so much for me. And I remember even when I was going home, I was so happy. Happy that I'm going home, but annoyed that I didn't die. Because, you know, you have all these mixed feelings. Also, you're thinking, you know, what are people going to say? The people who have known this. So it was really traumatizing. And I remember I closed myself up. I just closed myself up. This jolly child that I was, this cheerful person that I was, it all changed. Now I became someone who was very quiet, very withdrawn. When now the finances are being bad, the most traumatizing thing for me is that we were so broke we couldn't afford pads. There's a day I remember I had to sit on a bucket for more than 12 hours just for my mom to go around. And I remember pads at that time were like 45 bob, just to go and get 45 bob. And at this time, none of my friends know what I'm going through. No one knows what we are going through because we had isolated ourselves. I didn't know that these things were affecting me. At that time, I just knew that I was stressed. I was withdrawn. When my peers had gone to university, you know, I was busy trying to look for ways to make money. This is my music that is not working. So I sat down with my mom and I told my mom, I don't see like this is something that is meant for me. So I had to start looking for other ways to make money. Growing up in privilege than having to suffer when you're a grown up, it's different. if you hear someone saying stories of how they grew up in problems, but in their adulthood, then everything changed. The two experiences are totally different. At that time, I just felt like I was living because I was saved, you know. I could be dead. Now I have to continue going through these problems, and I have to continue living in this reality where I feel like a failure, you know. I feel like there's nothing good that is going to come out of me. And obviously, after, it's not the same right now because people are speaking up about mental health. But that time it was really bad. Your neighbors would start talking. Their kids would be told not to play with you. Unajua, usiende kwa kina Dama tena hapana, you know. So it was definitely traumatizing because, you know, people look at you differently. And I thought that was the worst thing that could happen to us. But then now I was off the world, I was in the world. So then the next traumatic thing in my life happened. I got raped. And I remember I never told anyone. When it happened, I remember going home and sitting in a matatu because I was coming from a tattoo from Langata. I'll never forget. Some things you never forget. Sitting in the matatu and crying, you know. And I was blaming myself. The first reason I was blaming myself is I loved wearing short things. Me, you couldn't tell me anything. Me, I was my dress, my choice, kitambo. I used to wear things so short. I'm telling you, ungechungulia tu hivi, you would see heaven. And I remember sitting and looking at myself and telling myself I deserved it, you know. It happened to me because I deserved it, you know. This person wasn't even at fault. And I was looking at myself and I was telling myself, you know, if I looked at me, if I was a man and I looked at me, I'd want to do something like that. And I remember reaching home and there's bathing and then there's that you're scrubbing yourself. I don't know. I spent so much time bathing. If there was jig, I think I would even have used jig. And after bathing, I remember going and sitting on my bed and talking to myself like I was a mad person. And I told myself, this is something that I'm never going to tell anyone. Because one, no one is ever going to understand it. Second, people will blame me. Because kwa nini ulikuwa umevaa hivyo, you know? Why were you out drinking with people, you know? I was withdrawn back then, but now I became twice withdrawn. Now my reality had changed. Now I was in the world and I was experiencing all these cruel things that can happen in the world. And I remember the first time I told, because I had a friend who we were so close. I remember the first time I told her I want to tell you something and I don't know if you're going to judge me. You know, I'm blaming myself. I don't know if you're going to judge me, but this and this happened to me. And I remember her crying. And she's like, why would you think I would judge you? And I'm like, look at me. I used to have colored. If you knew me back then, my hair used to be the rainbow. I looked like I was a wild spirit. And for some reason, I was a wild spirit. And I remember her crying. She told her mom. I never knew she told her mom. And this is something that withdrew me so much from the world. But who am I? It's never anything I dealt with. Because as I've said, I blamed myself. This was from someone I knew very well. And I remember there's something about me. When someone hurts me, I process the pain. And after processing it, I will either choose to forgive you or not forgive you. But because of who I am, I don't like carrying everyone around. I'll be carrying a lot of people. And I remember after some time, he was very apologetic, tried looking for me. And I remember we sat down and I told him, I've forgiven you. I will never understand why you did that to me, because you took away from me this innocence that I will never get back, you know. And I remember telling him, I've forgiven you. Whatever you're going to do with that information, that belongs to you. And I didn't know how much the rape affected me. I remember telling my mom. That was before I forgave him, because I felt like I was carrying this thing with me, you know, this dirt. I remember sitting down with my mom and telling my mom, there's something I want to tell you. And then I told my mom, you know, on this and this day, this happened to me. And I remember my mom, she had sat down and her standing up and going to the kitchen and taking a panga. And she was like, Sai unipe. I will never forget. Unanipeleka kwa huyo mwanaume. I have seen my mom being angry all my life. As I've said, I used to be beaten black and blue. But I have never seen my mom have so much rage in her eyes. And I remember telling my mom, this person died. That's what I told her. Me, I cannot take you to anyone because this person died. Because as much as I am talking to my mom, because I felt like my mom was the only safe space I had. But at the back of my mind, I'm still blaming myself. And I remember even there's a point I told mom, it wasn't even his fault. You know me, I had those short dresses I wear. We were drinking, blah, blah, blah. And my mom had to open my eyes and show me how bad that was, you know. And to the point that I sat down with him and I told him, okay, you're saying you're sorry, you're remorseful, you can't give me back what you took from me. But because of the person that I am, and I don't want to carry you around, you know, karma is going to meet up with you, whatever it's going to meet up with you. But for me, I need to release you because I felt like I was going mad, you know. So that happened. Never, apart from talking to my mom and the friend that I spoke to, I never really addressed it. Pushed it to the back of my head. As I said, I kept on pushing. You know, this is happening when still my life, you know, the financial issues are happening. My life is still falling apart. So I'm still on the go. You know, I'm moving. You know, this is happening. Hakuna shida. Let's go. So I thought that was the worst that could happen. And I was just like, at this point, there's nothing else life can throw at me. After some time, still pushing, still going, I got pregnant. I remember I got pregnant. And it was pregnant by mistake. You know, when you can get pregnant and just be like, oh, okay, I should have gotten pregnant, you know, or I know I got pregnant, you know. I didn't know I got pregnant. It was pregnancy by default. So I think I was 19. I think I was 19. And the first thing I told, after everything I told my friend, I can't keep it. I can't keep this child. For the main reason of, you know, all the situation we are in, you know, we are barely making it to survive on our own. how am I going to be able to cater for a child? At that time, my mom still knew I was a virgin. How am I even going to tell my mother? You know, her child who sings gospel. How am I even going? Where will I get the words to tell my mom that I am pregnant? And I remember telling my friend, me, I can't keep it. I'm not even going to tell the dude, me, I just can't keep this child. And my friend was like, are you sure? I was just like, yeah, me, I can't keep this child. So my friend was like, okay, we're gonna deal with it. And for truth, we dealt with it. But I always tell people that was the biggest mistake I ever made in my life. Not because of what it did to me mentally, but what it did to me physically. Because it exposed me to a lot of other things. I had very legit reasons of not wanting to be a mother at that age. But if I knew what it was going to do to me, then I would have rather had a child than be exposed to everything else that came. I'm a Christian. I know what the Bible says. So I'm carrying all these things, you know. In my mind, I'm carrying all these things. I already have something that happened to me, you know, without my control. And now this is something that I've done with my control, you know. So I carried it, you know, and I pushed it to the side. Then I met this boy again. A boy who I thought loved me, and I got pregnant again. Oof, pregnancy loved me. I got pregnant again. I remember sitting down with myself and I was like, something has to be wrong with me. At this point, something has to be wrong with me. So I remember I got to know I was pregnant, I think, after a month. I was a month into the pregnancy. So I told my boyfriend I'm pregnant. And at first he was shocked. You know, we are young. That time we were 21. I think we were 21. We are just young people not knowing what they are doing. And I told him, I'm pregnant. And so he told me, okay, so what do you want us to do about it? I remember that's what he told me. And I was like, there's no way I'm keeping this baby. Like there is no way I'm keeping this baby. At that time, because I was so withdrawn from life. I'm not talking to my mom. My mom is really trying, you know. At that time, even, you know, they say, show me your friends, I'll show you who you are. You know, my friends are as crazy as I am, you know. So she felt like I didn't have the best company with me. So my mom started snooping on my phone. This specific day, she asked me, Dama, is there something you need to tell me? And I'm like, no, there's nothing I need to tell you. She's like, these things have changed. Your appetite has changed. You want to eat specific things. You know, you look like you're adding weight. And I'm like, Mom, what are you trying to insinuate? She's like, no, I'm just asking you, is there anything you need to tell me? I'm like, no, there's nothing I need to tell you. This boyfriend asks me, what do you want to do? I tell him, I don't want to keep this baby because how am I going to provide for this child? And they always say when you've done something one time, you'll never see it as a big deal doing it the second time. It's really never going to be something. In my first abortion, the doctor told me that I can never have another abortion. I should not even try to ever have another abortion. So, and this is something that I had told my boyfriend before even I got pregnant, because I have this thing when if I'm dating you, I like you knowing me and knowing who you're getting with, you know. And for some apparent reason, my partners were the only people I used to talk to, because they would provide this safe space, this safety net. So I had already told him about the first abortion and what the doctor told me. So he's like, you do know you're not supposed to have another abortion. And I'm like, I don't care. There's no way I'm keeping this baby. You know everything I'm dealing with at home. You know our situation. What am I going to do with the child? So he's like, okay. We took like 2 weeks to be able to get the medication. I remember that medication ilikuwa na instruction mingi. You're supposed to put it under your tongue, and you're not supposed to swallow your saliva. I was just like, how don't you swallow your saliva? Because it has to dissolve for some apparent reason. I remember taking the pills, but a few minutes, I just ran to the bathroom. I ran to the bathroom and spat? I spat them. And I remember asking myself, what have you done? How are you going to be a mother? At this young age, how are you going to do it? So I went back to my bedroom. My mom thought I was crazy. She saw me and she thought I was crazy. She was like, what is wrong with you? I'm just like, nothing. That time she already knows I'm pregnant. So she read my messages. But I think she was figuring, so the belly is going to, you can't hide a pregnancy. The belly will grow. So I remember going to my bedroom, taking my phone and texting my boyfriend that I have gone through with it. I told him I have gone through with it. And in my head, I'd already told myself, because in that split second when I was thinking to myself, when I was temaing, I had already told myself, you know what, we're going to do this. Because for some apparent reason, I didn't feel like it was the right thing for me to do. And I remember telling God, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I really don't know how I'm going to do it. So you have to tell me how I'm going to do it. Already I've told my boyfriend, I've already gone through the abortion. So I've already known I'm going to be a single mom, because and in my head, I was like, I'm through with this relationship. I'm through with it. Just when I thought, life was done with me and nothing more could happen to me, I had a miscarriage. I remember waking up and seeing a pool of blood on my sheets and not understanding what was happening. Yeah, my mom was in the next room, but I didn't call her because I will never understand, because even my friends up to date, they would tell me, you have the sweetest mom in the world. Why are you usually so afraid to tell her the most traumatic things that are happening to you? But for me, it wasn't more of fear. It was more of disappointment. I remember, I think it dates back to when my mom stopped beating me, because it reached a point my mom stopped beating me. And I don't remember what I had done, but I remember the first time my mom ever told me, I'm disappointed in you. I remember I cried so much. My brother was asking me, unalia? But it was the fact that she felt so disappointed. Like I had done something that to her, it wasn't even worth the punishment, worth being beaten. And I wished she beat me, because just that word, I'm disappointed in you. And as an adult, that is the one thing that I was so afraid. I was so afraid for my mom to tell me I'm disappointed. How am I even going to start? And I remember I went to the toilet. I sat on the toilet. I'm crying. I'm in so much pain. I'm trying to make as little noise as I can because I don't want my mom to wake up. Now, the most difficult thing was trying to explain to my mom where I'm going at 6 in the morning. Unatoka unaenda wapi? Having to explain to my mom I have to leave the house at 6. Trying to stand upright because you're feeling so much pain. Trying to stand upright. Saa hiyo nimevaa pad. Nilikuwa nimevaa pad na nikavaa ingine nyuma. Just, because I'm over bleeding. And I remember rushing into my mom's. My mom knew how much I loved my friends. And I'm the kind of person you could call me at 12 na nitoke kwa nyumba. So I went and I told my mom, I have an emergency. A friend of mine, blah, 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 hooked up a story and I need to leave. The taxi is outside. And my mom was like, just make sure you call me. Make sure you called me. And the friend that I danganyad with is a friend that we are close. So I said, I'm going to deal with it. I was just praying in my head, my mom doesn't call my friend. Because if she calls my friend, the lie is over. So I went to hospital. But now I was even feeling more of a failure. Because, this child didn't even want me. I know I didn't want to keep the child in the first place. I understand that. But how bad of a human being could I have been that this child didn't even want me? So I went to my friend for 2 days. And I remember spending those 2 days just crying. I wasn't eating. I didn't feel like talking. I didn't feel like doing anything. I think that is when now the spirit of worthlessness really set in. It was just a whole lot of things. So I went home, created a story for my mom. Would spend most of my time in bed, really. Wasn't eating much. I remember this day my mom sat me down and she was like, today, Dama, we will burn this house. We will bring this house down. But you're telling me what is going on in your life. Because I was not talking to my mother. And she told me, I don't care how many friends you have. I don't care what you have in the world. Today, we are going to, I'm telling you, this house, we are burning it to the ground, but you have to talk to me. And I told my mom, imagine I can't. I love you. I respect you, but I don't feel like it's the right time to talk to you. We obviously had an argument, and I don't know. My mom and I, we loved each other with this intensity, and when we'd argue with that intensity. You'd think it's husband and wife arguing in the house. Unasikia mtu amebang mlango, pa, pa. So I remember we had an argument. I went into my bedroom. I closed myself inside there. But I still continued going. Immediately after that, I think it was like a few months, my mom comes home and she's crying and she's breaking down, and I'm like, hey mom, what's wrong? And she tells me I'm from the hospital and there's a problem with my kidney. Whatever faith I had remaining now was hanging in the balance. Now my faith was just like, imagine God, we can barely feed ourselves. We can barely have, clothes on our back. We are barely surviving. A kidney, there's dialysis, how are we going to afford that? So that happened. And then I start feeling sick. When I started feeling sick, I thought it was just normal. I'm someone who has very painful period cramps, always, ever since my period started. So I was thinking, these are just normal. Maybe it's my periods which are coming, blah, blah, blah. Then my periods come. But the pain that I used to feel with my normal periods, I'm feeling pain times 2. Ha. So it reached a point. At that time, I started talking to my mom. We started creating this very close relationship. So I tell my mom, I'm in so much pain. I think I need to go to hospital. Do we have money? After some time, nikatumia Mpesa. So I went for the test. Then the doctor says he's seeing something. He doesn't know exactly what it is, but he's seeing something that doesn't look so good. Hey, mimi ndio nimeanza kusweat. Simi nadhani kila kitu imeisha sasa. My mom already is sick. We are dealing with that. Is there anything else that can happen? So the doctor is like, I can see something. I don't know what it is, but I can see something. So the doctor is like, we need to do a pap smear. I'm like, okay. So you need to do the pap smear. What am I going to do? Same way, hustled for money, did a pap smear. That time, pap smears would take some time because I went back home. I was like, he told me come after this amount of time. I was like, okay. Went back home. My mom is still sick. We're still trying to figure that out. So I go back, see the doctor. I remember that day there was a really long line, and I was very impatient because I'm just like, I'm still in pain, but the painkillers were helping. That day I didn't go alone. I think God knew I didn't go alone. So that day my friend took me, checks the results, and he's like, now Dama, things don't look so good. I'm like, okay, things don't look good. I'm just like, you tell me. At this point, you can even as well kill me because what haven't I seen at this point? I'm tired. And the doctor says, we have found traces of cancer. And I'm like, so what does traces of cancer mean? Explained to me like a 2-year-old. And he's like, so, this and this has been found. This and this has happened. I'm not someone who faints. If you ever see me faint, just know something is wrong. I'm not someone who faints. But that day I fainted. I was told I just nilisimama kabla kuketi chini nikaanguka pap. I will never know why I fainted. Maybe I felt overwhelmed, Maybe I felt the world closing in. When I regained back my consciousness, the doctor comes back. So we have to speak about the way forward because we do need a way forward. And he's like, I know it sounds really bad, but it's not bad. But I'm just like, imagine it's like you're playing with my intelligence. Tell me. I need you to stop sugarcoating these things. Tell me. So he's like, it's not really, I remember how the doctor said it. It's like a dot. You see, it's like a dot. We found it when it was starting. So I'm like, okay. So I know in my head, I know cancer is chemotherapy, radiation, all these things. We talked about it and he told me, don't worry, that should not worry you. And there's something we called oral chemotherapy. And I was like, okay, so what is oral chemotherapy? So he explained it to me. It's chemotherapy you take with medication, but we need to be doing new tests after every 2 months. 2 months, 2 months, 2 months, 2 months. So I asked him, so how long do I need to be on this oral chemotherapy? And he told me for a period of an year to the least. You're telling me an year? You're telling me oral chemotherapy? It is expensive. My mom is sick. We can barely take care of her. So what is going to happen to me? I will never forget how I came out of that hospital. I remember telling my friend, just niache nitembe, just let me walk. I just need you to let me walk because I'm going mad. I'm losing my mind. But then I remember just looking at my mom and thinking to myself, if I died, who would I leave my mom with? No. We pretty much don't have any support from our family. I will never understand it. I'll never understand what happened. Because God saw us through. God saw us through. After some few months on medication, my mom went to hospital, and for some reason the doctor told her, you don't need dialysis anymore. But we are going to have to put you on this medication for this amount of time. For me, I never missed a week because I used to take my medication every week. And those medications were so strenuous because you have to take them at a specific time. You have to have a specific diet. After an year, I think it was an year, 1 month, an year, 2 months. My last checkup, my pap smear came clean, and I was so happy. I was so happy. Like, I don't think I've ever experienced happiness like that. And the doctor told me you have to get a pap smear after every 3 months for the next year. Then after that, you can get after 6 months. This whole time I'm sick. My mom does not know a peek that I'm sick. The people who came together to help me, they came together to help me. My mom just used to say, these days you're tired, you know, you're losing weight, you don't look good. So in my head, my mom is thinking it's stress, you know, and I have ulcers. I don't know if by that time I had a hernia. I can't remember, but I had very bad ulcers. So I just keep on telling mom, I think it's the ulcers. And because we are going through so much, she just figured maybe it's everything we are going through. I remember how I would have to hide, go to hospital. Sometimes unahitaji kulazwa, you have to say umeenda kwa rafiki. It was just a lot. But that time, I didn't feel to tell my mom I was sick because I thought she was going to be disappointed or anything. At that time, I knew my mom would run mad. I just knew my mom would run mad. Because I didn't mention this, there's a period my mom she shut down completely. For like 2 years, completely shut. My mom was not the same person. And I think that is the first time I ever saw my mom defeated. And I knew in the state that she is, if I tell her, uyu amekufa, ameenda ameisha. And the one thing I could not afford to lose in my life was my mother. I eventually came to tell her I had some debts because I wouldn't allow myself to be done for everything. So I had some debts. I had a lot. My debts were a lot. And I remember she helped me pay each and every person And she thanked each and every person who helped me out. So in 2020 is when I was diagnosed with severe depression and severe anxiety. It's when I was put on medication. So I started medication. I started therapy every week. I'd see a psychiatrist every month. And I was withdrawn. From 2020, nothing has ever been the same for me. I used to tell myself that it didn't matter if we've already gone through seasons of not having, of lacking. So I had to tell myself it didn't matter. It didn't matter if we had anything or not. As long as I knew I had my mom beside me, it was gonna be okay. Then 2021 came and my mom got COVID. I remember even us joking about it. And I remember telling my mom, you know, you can get COVID. And my mom would be like, even if I got COVID, nitapona. Zile vitu nimepona Dama, nitapona. Jioni, she starts telling me, hey Dama, I'm not feeling okay. I'm not feeling good. So I'm like, do you need us to go to hospital? That time, we finished all the money. All the money we had, we finished it. Because you know how expensive COVID tests were. Buying the supplements was another thing. We used a lot of money. So all the money we had, ilikuwa imeisha. So there's this COVID hotline number. I remember that given out. Biggest scam ever. We tried calling it. We tried calling it like almost the whole night. Wasn't going through. Then we called 911. That's when I knew Kenya. Kenya ni mtu na yeye mwenyewe. We called 911. 911 told us there's nothing we can do for you. There's nothing we can do for you. All you have to do, you have to wait till morning. Then you go to hospital. Then there's a time she started crying. But that was also normal for her. Because she had fibroids, so it was normal. It was normal to hear her cry. The first times I used to run. And then she told me, don't be running. You just, if nikishindwa kabisa kuja. So I had her crying. It was not that crying ya kulia, ni ile unasikia uchungu. So I figured, it's just the toilet. I was like, if after 10 minutes, she's still like that, I'll go check up on her. I don't know what happened. I think I blacked out, slept. Because at that time when I had her in the washroom, it was 7. By the time nikajisikia, it was 9. And this time, my mom was really crying. When I took her food, she started eating, but alikuwa anatema. Then she started vomiting. And then all of a sudden, she started blood. Blood started coming out. God, I remember how confused I was. Because I was feeling sick. But I don't have money. So the thing that made me know that things were really bad is my mom started forgetting what she was telling me. She would tell me something and then she's forgetting it. She'd tell me something and then she's forgetting it. My mom's friend, God bless her, she was called Mrs. Malondo. She started sending me any amount of money. Any amount of money she could be able to get. She just started sending me money and sending me money and sending me money. And she was like, Dama, take your mom to hospital. Pesa itapatikana. hatujui itapatikanaje, but take your mom to hospital. That time, we don't know which hospitals to go to. These people, the ambulance services, they were very helpful. I remember them calling hospitals, and then you're hearing down payment is 150, 200, 300. There's a place it was even 600. I just told them I can't afford that. I really cannot afford that. Then I asked them, can you take her to a public hospital? That time public hospitals didn't have oxygen. So they had full capacity. So a public hospital is not an option. They continued calling. They didn't lose hope. Yani those people, the way they helped me, we finally got a hospital in Ruai. My mom got admitted and they started giving her oxygen straight away. So at around 7, I left the hospital. I went home. I remember on my way in the cab, I was just crying. I remember the first post I ever put for my mom fundraiser. I'm supposed to be sleeping, but now I started writing. I opened my Instagram. And I started writing. I wrote that post for 7 hours. I will never forget. Because I would write, I stop. Because I'm like, what am I supposed to write? I write, I stop. Then there are these voices in the back of my head. What are people going to think? Am I even going to be helped? Somehow I finished writing and I posted. I put my phone on silent because I really needed to sleep. I had very few hours to sleep. Because you see, I have a course of action in the morning, what I'm supposed to go do. Then I went to my message side. Kid you not, the messages of Mpesa I saw. People have reposted my post on their social medias. People have sent them to other people. So I was just getting people calling me. I remember when I went back to hospital, I had 30,000. That is money that I didn't have. I remember the following day I woke up very early in the morning. And I remember going and seeing my mom in machines, and she's not talking, she can't see me, she doesn't know I'm there. I was done. For my mom to be transferred to the ICU, the hospital said now we need 200,000. Now I was like, now it's no longer 50,000, it's 200,000. And I remember just sitting down and writing a post. I wasn't like me, I was telling, Yani, I told myself that I'm going to open myself up to people because there's no one who's coming to help me. And I remember people calling, and Mimi, I remember the people who would send me even 3 shillings. My mom was in hospital for a week, just a week before she passed. And the whole bill came to 2 million for just a week. And me, I will never know how God did it. At no point did I have anyone insult me for being queer. No one. No one even brought it up. No one. This time I'm being told my mom's pictures, they're trending, wapi, that no, no. And that is when I knew humanity is not lost. People are not bad. And I remember looking at her and just feeling the weight of the world on my back. And I was just like, God, you have taken me through so much. And I've been so strong. You have beat me up. You have hit me. But nothing that I've gone through in the world can ever equate the pain I felt seeing my mom lying there breathless, fighting, staying alive. I'm just lying to myself. I attempted suicide again. I was taken again to a mental institution for another 2 weeks. From the time my mom passed and we buried her, I've been struggling to stay alive. But at least from December, just having my partner there, my friends have been very supportive. Oh my God. But from March, something just happened to me and I just relapsed. And the whole of April, I struggled. I remember I wasn't sleeping more than 2 hours. I can barely come out of my bed. I'm someone who has OCD, very clean. My friends even don't like coming to visit me because you have to wash your hands, you have to do this, you have to do that. I stopped. I wouldn't care if I took a shower or not take a shower. I remember it was so bad there's a day I even peed on myself. Because I literally don't even have the strength to go to the washroom. I am someone who's struggling to stay alive. I'm struggling every day. I have no permanent income, I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I depend on a business that is not doing well. I don't even have the strength. People don't understand this. When someone is depressed, people usually think you're lazy. That's the mentality people think. Huyo ni mvivu. But the truth is, you cannot be productive in anything. Anything that you do. If you hear a lot of stories, you'll hear people say they were sacked. Some people just resigned. Because your brain, I usually tell people, your brain is what keeps you alive, and it's true. Your brain is what keeps you alive. And if your brain is not working, then no part of your body. Your legs can be okay, your hands can be okay, your mouth can be, but as long as your brain is shut, nothing else can happen for you. People think committing suicide is easy. Committing or attempting suicide is the hardest thing for a human being to do. Because you are choosing to inflict pain on your body. And I remember the night I have attempted suicide before. And I didn't die. So I had to formulate a plan in my head that would kill me. And I bought rat poison. I did a lot of things. I had antipsychotic medication, a lot of them. And I just overdosed. I took the rat poison. And I remember I put a suicide note on my social media. And I didn't put it because I wanted to be saved. I didn't put it because I wanted attention. I just wanted to say goodbye to the world. And for some reason, I was saved. After going back home and staying for a week, I just felt I couldn't do it anymore. And this time I said, I'm not going to tell anyone goodbye. I'm not going to write a post. I'm not going to do anything. I went to the people who sell poison and I asked them, ni gani inaweza ua hata binadamu akichukua hivi by mistake? You know, you don't want to out yourself, you want to do something. Kambia, ni gani mtu akichukua hivi by mistake atakufa? Nikaambia, unaona hii iko na nguvu, inaweza ua hata mtu instantly hivyo. I remember it was on a Sunday. I went to the club and as I was drinking, I was adding it to my alcohol. As I was drinking, I was adding it to my alcohol. I had some friends who were with me at my house. So I knew I couldn't go back to my house. So I looked for a room that I could go to and I found one. I'm very surprised that I'm still here. Even just having the strength to come here. You know, I kept on telling myself, you know, you have to stay alive, you know, because the suicidal thoughts are just there. Even as I'm sitting here, even as I'm telling my story, they're still here. Like, it is a loud voice. My life is pretty much falling apart, you know. And now I'm even more alone than I was before. I look around and I wonder, you know, what am I living for? I have no income. I have no children, no family that I can look at and be like, I'm living for someone, you know. I'm struggling. I don't even know what I'm gonna do to get myself out of the situation, because even the strength to just get out of my bed, I don't have. It's easier when you know that it's my leg that's aching me, or it's my hand that's aching me, or it's my stomach. At least you know that I'll go to hospital, you know, this can be tested and a doctor will give me a way forward. But when it comes to your brain, there's nothing like that. You just have to live knowing that maybe the medications you're taking are going to make you better. Maybe whatever you're dealing with is going to come to an end and you're going to have some reprieve in your life, you know. I'm in a place where I feel like I'm a burden to people. I feel like I don't deserve to be loved. I don't deserve any help. I don't deserve anything good in my life. And for most people with mental health illnesses, that's what they feel. And that is why people commit or attempt suicide. Not because they think that the people around them, you know, wouldn't miss them or don't love them, but it is the removing the burden of self. You feel like you're not worthy of anything. And if you feel like you're not worthy of anything, you'll also expect the people around you to feel like you're not worthy of anything. And that is why being very understanding and very kind to people with mental health illnesses is very important. it's not good to hear people dying every day because of suicide. And then people come and they say, but we thought it was just kidogo stress, We didn't know it was this much. Don't let it reach there. Myself, I'm trying. I'm really trying. I don't know for how long I can try. As I've said, I feel like my life is falling apart and I don't even know where to start, but I am trying. So if you're out there and you're like me and you feel like you're at the wall and you're tired, you can't do it anymore, just tap for my strength and let us try together. Hopefully one day I'll come back here and the story I'll say will be a story of victory, and it will be a story that will show someone somewhere that indeed, you can do it.